Wifey, I'm getting fatter by the day.
Don't worry, drink this. Dad, I want to get jacked.
Don't eat after 7 p.m. There is just too much hoo-ha out there. Dude, what the hell is hoo-ha? I mean, losing weight is made so mysterious, confusing and secretive, when things in reality are quite straightforward. Through this video, I'd like not to give you solutions, but to empower you to help yourself. So keep a pen at hand. You might need to take some notes. What makes me so qualified to tell you this big secret? The biggest qualification I have got is that of experience. I have myself lost 50 kilograms, that is 110 pounds. I've got my waist from a size 44 inches to a size 28 inches. I think experience is the biggest teacher. It has taught me how I can guide you through this seemingly difficult task. Seemingly difficult because once you zoom out, if you look at the bigger picture, it is quite simple. And simplicity is going to be the theme of today's talk. Let me at the onset get the most complicated thing I'm going to talk about today out of the way. I am not the greatest physicist, but here goes. The first law of thermodynamics. The energy in an isolated system always remains constant. Energy can only be transformed from one form to another. It cannot be created or destroyed. Now that said, let's keep it at the back burner and we will bring it up a little bit later in context. Bear another thing in mind when we are talking about losing body weight. We are in fact talking about losing body fat. Moving on. Should you be losing body weight? The moment I ask you that question, your mind is going to go, what is my ideal BMI, body mass index? What is my ideal body weight? You see these figures, especially BMI, it was made up by a Belgian mathematician. You see this figure of BMI does not take into consideration your muscle mass, your bone density, your overall body composition. So these are figures I cannot believe in too much. But I got a very simple test you can use. And you got an instrument available with you at home. It is called the mirror. Just take off your clothes, stand in front of the mirror and you be the judge. Are you carrying extra body mass? Is it extra muscle? Is it extra fat? Chances are you are carrying extra fat. Guys will see it as a big tummy because men generally tend to put on most of their weight, most of their fat mass around their abdomen. Women generally will see it around their buttocks and their hips and their legs. So only you can be the best judge whether you should lose body fat. Let me give you another reason why you should get rid of excess body fat. In fact, I will give you a few. Heart disease, atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, diabetes, liver disease, increased risk of cancer, suppressed immunity, making you susceptible to a myriad of infections. When you think about our body, we generally only think about it externally. But essentially, you have to understand there is a whole supporting system inside as well, which supports the external. Inside, we have a circulatory system, we have a nervous system, we have a musculoskeletal system, which supports this external body of ours. Let's take an example of an organ which supports our external body, the heart. Think of the heart like an engine. Engines have got BHPs. BHP is finite. So if your body mass increases too much, the BHPs of your heart is going to be lacking. Your heart is going to start failing due to getting overworked. Body mass can increase in two ways. You can increase in muscle mass or it can increase in fat mass. But let me tell you something about muscle mass. It is very difficult to put on muscle mass. It takes a lot of hard work to put on muscle mass. And end of the day, the body can naturally hold on to only so much of muscle. However, fat mass can be put on in no time. And it is rather enjoyable putting on fat mass. And then to lose that fat mass is a little bit more difficult. Now that I have got your attention, let us look at the different types of fat which are present in our body. Fat in our body is mainly of three types. There is the essential fat, there is the visceral fat, and there is a subcutaneous fat. Essential fat, this is the fat which is surrounding our nervous system. This fat is essential to human life. The second type of fat which is there is the visceral fat. This is the fat which surrounds the organs. This fat is thick and dense. And when you gain weight, this is where you gain most of your fat cells. It is this fat which is responsible for all the lifestyle diseases. The third type of fat is the subcutaneous fat. The subcutaneous fat is the fat which is under our skin. This is the kind of fat you and me don't like to see. But from a health perspective, it is a lot less dangerous than visceral fat. Let me tell you from a personal perspective why I decided to lose my body weight. I was feeling slow and old. I was probably in my mid-30s. I had a young son. He was probably 2 years old, 3 years old. And I could not imagine even playing football with him once he reaches 9 or 10. And it was a pathetic feeling. And it was at this time that I decided to make a change. Bear in mind, as we are going to learn, the changes are not big. The changes involve very simply learning a new set of skills. You will have to learn skills to aid in your weight loss and your weight management. Remember, it is not only about losing weight. Remember, always keep this one thing in your mind. Anybody can lose weight, but it is about keeping it off. So essentially, you have to develop a skill set. It is a well-known fact that people who lose weight will put it back on and some more within the first 3 years. So it is essential that you look at it as developing a new skill set. And I am going to tell you how. You see, the battle of bringing down your weight is mostly a mental battle and in a smaller way a physical battle. You have to be prepared mentally. You have to know what to expect before you get into it. You have to look at it not as only a weight loss point of view. It has to be from point of view of you improving your fitness. And what is fitness? Fitness is simply cardiovascular strength, muscular strength and flexibility. So along with your weight, also your fitness will follow. Some of the new skills you will have to learn will include lifestyle balance, self-control, discipline, and the most important of all, it is actually also my favorite exercise. It is called putting the fork down. You pick the fork and then you learn to put it back down. And that also is the most important exercise of all. But do not worry, I am going to teach you how to manage that. Now we are going to get into the meat of the things and get the physicist in you excited. You remember earlier I had mentioned about the first law of thermodynamics, the law of conservation of energy. Now let me explain to you what a kilocalorie is. A kilocalorie is a unit of energy. It is the amount of heat required to boil 1 kilogram of water. That is also coincidentally how we measure the energy expenditure of our body. This is essentially the pyramid of nutrition. Caloric balance, macronutrition, micronutrition, and things like meal timing, supplementation, etc., etc. The base of the pyramid is always the strongest. The top just does not matter. You don't have the base, the top will fall off very easily. You want to lose weight, you look at caloric balance. Today I am not even going to bother about micronutrition and supplementation because it simply does not matter in your weight loss journey. When you normally start your weight loss journey, a lot of people will tell you things like lime juice will help. That is micronutrition. Vitamin C does not matter. A lot of people will tell you do not have a late dinner. Meal timing does not matter. A lot of people might tell you have a slimming powder. Supplementation does not matter. We just have to concentrate on this caloric deficit. And maybe, see, not everyone requires in the beginning, but at a later stage when if you want to get really lean, then you might have to look at macronutrition. But essentially you just need to stop at caloric deficit. You ingest your calories simply by eating your food. And let us see now how you expend your calories. As we can see in the chart, there are 4 ways you expend your calories. The first one being BMR. Next, NEAT, EAT, and TEF. Let's see what they are. BMR is your basal metabolic rate. It is very closely connected with your body weight.
So the higher your body weight, the higher your BMR. The lower your body weight, the lower your BMR. You might have often heard overweight people saying they've put on weight because they've got a slow metabolism. In fact, it is not true. When you are overweight, your metabolic rate is much higher than when you are underweight. The second way you expend calories is NEAT. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. These are involuntary movements we do. Like when I'm talking, I'm moving my hands, I'm blinking my eyes, I need to get up and go to the loo. These are all involuntary movements which constitute NEAT. Next comes TEF, thermic effect of food. When you ingest food, energy is expended to digest that food. That is the thermic effect of food. The fourth way you expend calories is by EAT. EAT is exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is exercise. If you look at the chart, you will notice that it only constitutes a small area of that chart. So we have at one corner the food you ingest, the other corner the energy expended. And there are only a few variables you can control. You can control your food ingested and you can control your exercise activity. Thermic effect of food also a little bit. We will come to that a little bit later. You cannot control your BMR. It is beyond your control. You cannot control your NEAT. These are involuntary movements. So we have only two basic variables in our hands. The food we ingest and the exercise we do. Next we come to the seesaw of energy balance. If the calories you ingest are equal to the calories you expend, you will maintain your weight. If you ingest more calories than you expend, then you will put on weight. If you ingest less calories than you expend, you will lose weight. Essentially, you will lose body fat. Let's talk a little bit about macronutrients. There are four main macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and alcohol. The function of proteins is to build new cells and repair old ones. Carbohydrates are the fuel source of our body. Fats are the building blocks of all our hormones. Our body is a huge set of chemical reactions happening at any given point of time. Without hormones, our body cannot survive. And mind you, this is nutritional fat. This fat has nothing to do with what is stored around your body. This is excess energy. This is nutritional fat. Function of alcohol: food for the soul. It is not an essential macronutrient. It has no nutritive value. Why do people get so afraid of fats? Well, there are two reasons. Let me explain to you the first one in a little bit of detail. You see, 1 gram of protein contains 4 kilocalories of energy. 1 gram of carbohydrate contains 4 kilocalories of energy, while 1 gram of fat contains 9 kilocalories of energy. And which brings us to alcohol. Alcohol as well, 1 gram of alcohol has got 7 kilocalories. So you see, they are very caloric dense, and hence it is very easy to overeat on food which are high in fats. Also, fats, to make it simple again, are broadly we can divide in two sets: healthy fats and non-healthy fats. Non-healthy fats mostly constitute what we call trans fats. The non-healthy fats you just consider for simplicity's sake are your cooking oils. They have basically no nutritive value. Their only function being to clog your arteries. So that is why people get a little bit paranoid about fat. But understand that healthy fats are essential for the functioning of our body. A small note on the thermic effect of food, TEF. As we know, we have three main macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. When we ingest these foods, energy is expended in digesting these foods. These macronutrients have got a different amount of calories expended. Proteins have got a thermic effect of food of around 30%. Carbohydrates have got a thermic effect of food of around 8 to 10%, while fats have a thermic effect of 3%. What does this mean? It means if you ingest 100 calories of proteins, 30 of those calories are expended only in digesting your food. If you ingest 100 calories of carbohydrates, 8 to 10 calories are expended in digesting your carbohydrate. If you ingest 100 calories of fat, about 3 calories only are expended in digesting that fat. Here there is another variable which we call fiber.
Dad, would you like some mixed vegetables?
Hell no.
Basically, it comes from fruit and vegetables. Fiber has got a thermic effect of around 20%. So how will you go about setting up your weight loss plan? You will go about it in two aspects. One is a mental aspect, one is a physical aspect. Let's look at the mental aspect. The first thing you will have to do is to accept. Accept that you are overweight. See, it is totally normal. Everybody at least once in their lifetime end up being overweight. You have to accept that you will have to make some changes. The next thing you will have to do is to understand that you will go through phases where you are a little bit hungry. A little bit hungry. It is not going to be a ravenous hunger. Remember, you're trying to burn through your stored energy sources, and therein you will learn a new skill. This is going to be a personal skill which you will learn is how to manage your hunger. You will have to be mentally prepared that this weight loss journey of yours is going to take time. You cannot do it in a time-bound manner. It is going to take you a long time. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So what happens when you start a marathon? You start out slowly and you end up in a sprint towards the end. So remember, you'll be getting into this for the long haul. Never ever think that you can exercise your weight off. You cannot out-exercise a bad nutrition. I will illustrate it to you by putting up a few examples. All these foods mostly contain around 300 calories. So in essence, you will have to go about your life making smart choices. It doesn't mean that you do not eat your favorite foods. You will have to learn to portion them because most likely your favorite foods are also caloric dense. So you will have to learn to portion control your favorite foods and include less caloric foods in your nutrition. So from here you will understand that you can overeat in two ways. One is by sheer volume of food and the other way is by the caloric density of your food. To make your nutrition plan even simpler, let me give you a little bit of a cheat sheet of mine. Ensure that with every meal, you have an adequate amount of protein, a palm size of protein, a palm size of carbohydrate, and a huge portion of vegetable. Let me enumerate you a few examples of protein. Could be eggs, soya balls, chicken, fish, red meats. These are all sources of protein. Sources of carbohydrates, bread, rice, dals, legumes, vegetables as well, fruit. These are some examples of carbohydrate. Examples of fat, oils, butter, cheese, nuts. And before you ask me, no, cottage cheese is not a source of protein. Neither are peanuts. These are both sources of fat. Dals and beans are not sources of proteins. They are sources of carbohydrate. Now coming to the aspect of your fitness. Remember, never exercise to lose weight. You are exercising to get fitter. So how fit should you be? You should be fitter than you were yesterday. How fit should you be tomorrow? Fitter than you were today. So essentially, you are exercising to become a fitter, a better version of yourself. Strength train to gain muscular strength. Do cardio to gain cardiovascular strength. Stretch to get more flexible. Do it over time. Pretend it is a piggy bank. And every time you train, you will put in a coin into that piggy bank. And over time, that piggy bank will get full and give you the rewards. Also, do not make the mistake of comparing yourself with anybody else. It is always going to leave you disappointed. So the secret skill you will have to learn over time, is to control your portions, include more low-caloric foods in your nutrition, and exercise regularly. Do these three things consistently. Do them consistently until they become habits and become part of your lifestyle. You will not only lose your excess weight, you will also keep it off for life. As you're coming to the end of this, notice one thing. I have never once mentioned the word diet. This I have done intentionally. I've done it intentionally because the moment one says diet, people imagine themselves going hungry for days on end. It is not like that. It is just that you're cutting down your food intake by a little bit for some time. Now before we close, let me leave you with a few anecdotes of the unexpected changes I found in myself when I lost my body weight. My wedding ring started fitting me back again. I lost one shoe size And the most funny one of all, I stopped feeling really hot during the summer. I just don't sweat as much as I used to sweat before.